So yes, it's that time of the year, isn't it? November, which is probably one of the darkest months because the light drops so quickly. It's when it gets really cold here actually. And I suppose after the longer months it feels even darker, and all the trees have practically died and are leafless. And it's before we move into a very mild December, as it always is. But it's that awful month. Probably get a flurry of snow. And also here in the UK it's bonfire night, which is always like a dark, cold, grim, wet night. What this actually stands for is so changed and bastardized over the times. I suppose originally, allegedly, it was a celebration of that King James wasn't blown up. Although I'm not sure, nobody liked King James. He was a bit of a he was a peaceful king in some ways, but he was very easily controlled and pushed. And obviously this was a setup that, you know, some Catholics were trying to blow up him and Parliament, and that were mysteriously found. Also, why it is this particular time of year, that's when he was found on November the 5th, but obviously he was killed in a very gruesome way, and the bonfires don't really have much to do. It's just, yeah, propaganda of the time. I suppose it kind of lingered on throughout the ages, and it's a reminder that the people are stronger than Parliament. That's the way I like to look at it. You know, you are there to serve us, not the other way round, which is, I suppose, what the Catholic protesters were trying to do. They just wanted to be represented and to live their lives, which not necessarily James, in fairness, but the ruling classes were having none of that. It's with the Anglican Church, of course, because, you know, ooh, Britain ruled the waves and all of that nonsense. That church that was invented so that a man could get a divorce and steal all the riches of the clergy. So anyway, that's it. There's no more politics in this. So these are just very dark fragrances. So I wasn't going to do smoky again or anything daft like that. So these are just dark fragrances. So we'll crack on. So first up is Nasomatto's Black Afgano. This one is a very black scent. I could have chose its kind of cousin from Autoparese, the volcano-y one. I can't remember what it's called, but I've gone for this one because I barely talk about this one. Now this one is a typification of a kind of black, dark, mysterious one, and it has been copied over the years quite a lot, but in its day obviously it was very unique. Now how do you describe this? It smells very black. In the kind of early stages you get like a mixture of this kind of dark patchouli and this kind of wacky backy, let's say. There's very much a touch of that in there. I wouldn't say this really that much of a part of it. Then as it develops, it smells very black. It's kind of leathery, perhaps from the saffron. There's the coffee, and then there's this kind of really dark, earthy, moist patchouli, but also a kind of black burning rubber feel in there. And that's kind of how it goes on and how it dries down. So it's really dark and unusual. It's not an easy fragrance to wear, but it's definitely interesting. It's definitely, well, I say unique. It was unique, obviously, that DNA. And what this kind of makes me think of is like a Jack the Ripper kind of guy, I think. It's kind of got this long black coat, black gloves kind of figure walking through the street. sucking all the light out of everywhere. No, not me. A more malevolent character, a more kind of dangerous person, with maybe a bit of smoke, and there's a kind of smouldering burning around him. And but he's also, there are touches of florals, and there's a little bit of sweetness in there to represent his charm and his deviousness. Now, this is a guy you would probably approach and live to regret it. So yeah, it's a kind of, to me, a very Jack the Ripper-esque one. That's Black Afgano from Nasomatto. Next is from Amouage, obviously, Silver Oud, obviously. And now this one, I think I've described it so many times, is the silver smoke swirling around. It's very big. The smoke is quite thick and quite heavy, but it's not a choking smoke. It is that kind of silvery smoke kind of thing. There's a beautiful oud, a Sam oud, isn't it? This kind of woody, elegant, magnificent feel about it. There's more woods, etc. in there. It's incense, it's amouage, it's just a nice resinous touch. I even get like the silvery iris kind of strands in there. It can only be defined really as absolutely magnificent. It's beautiful. But also in there is a little bit of castoreum. It's mainly prominent in the opening, but it has that kind of dark, dangerous purr about it, you know. But it is so classy, so elegant. The way I kind of see this one is maybe this would represent King James himself. He was supposed to be quite a flamboyant, cheery, dour Scottish fella, but there was definitely a darkness around him, especially the way he was controlled. He started the witch nonsense, the witch hunts, and the witch trials, and that again because he was manipulated by religious nutters. One thing you don't want is strong women who are able to be kind and nice and do things for you know, the normal man, help heal them and things like that, or to have different opinions to what the law was and what was kind of pushed into you, and not to be scared of God and all that stuff. So obviously he ordered the massacre of them, and that certain kind of charred burning is like the kingdom burning around him, but him still carrying himself as some alleged great ruler, some great king. So yeah, that's Silver Oud from Amouage. Next is Lolita Lempicka. Now this is a dark scent, but it's obviously got that sweeter feel about it. It's a little more playful, a little more fun, and it's predominantly, it's violet. I think there might be a touch of cherry in there. There's licorice. It's got this kind of nice powdery, chewy base, some nice musks. It's kind of your kind of 2000s 90s emo, isn't it, really? You know, oh yeah, you know, I am very miserable and apathetic, but I like to smell a little bit sweet as well as sullen and grumpy. It's that kind of fragrance, and it works. It's beautiful, it's iconic, it's a DNA I hope never goes away. Obviously it's been reformulated a good many times, but that doesn't mean that it's not still recognisable as what it was and what it is. And what does this one make me think of? Maybe it is a kind of 90s, now I am a millennial, but a kind of 90s millennial, you know, wannabe Instagram witch kind of person who's like, yeah, I've got all the dress up and the garb, you know, I've got all my purple veil, man, and my purple fishnet stockings and such like, but still, you know, I'm kind of cool and I want to smell kind of sweet and easy, And it's that kind of character to me, like us aging people pretending we're still goths and emos and stuff, but still being very kind of cool about it, like we would have been back in the day. So that's what Lolita Lempicka is for me. Lolita Lempicka, the EDP. We then have Dark Lord from Kilian. Now this one's, it's not a love for me, by the way, it's too much, but it is the niche version, same perfume, is it Alberto Morillas? Possibly, it doesn't matter, I don't talk about perfumes and I should, but who made Gucci Absolute. So it is that more kind of finished, if you like, richer, darker version of that. So it's, what is this dog doing? So to me, it's the Cypriol is kind of one of the main notes, and it's got this kind of medicinal care home mortuary just after someone's died, like green sweet kind of touch in there. It's got a dark, harrowing woodiness. Again, makes me think of coffins in the earth. And there's something about this DNA that just chills me to the bone. Again, maybe through being young and you know, when we go pick my mum up from work, which was actually an old manor house, funnily enough, but it was a care home. It's a manor house that Queen Elizabeth I stayed in. So there's lots of this kind of, it's really weird, there's lots of this art there, because obviously a listed building, and grand furniture and that, but that smell of death went through it all, and I think it kind of got to me. So you could see this as kind of somebody, is it a mortician that works in a mortuary? Sounds right, for some reason it sounds, I'm doubting myself, but yeah, it's that kind of someone, you know, in a white lab coat splashed in blood, with that kind of smell. The smell of death really clings in the air, doesn't it? And that's what it makes me think of. And then the next stage of pushing the coffin through into the crematorium and that, it's just a really kind of chilling scent to me. There's no reason why. I mean, it is meant to be dark and kind of dank and what have you, but to me it really switches some buttons, or flicks some buttons, or presses some, but whatever, you know what I mean. It's dark and it's eerie. So that's Dark Lord from Kilian. Next is from Bvlgari, and it's probably my favourite of this line, and it's Bvlgari's Man Black Orient. Yeah, I tend to call it Man Black O, but it is what it is anyway. This is a flanker to Man in Black, and it has a lot of that DNA running through it. It's got the tuberose, the kind of boozy notes, the rum and what have you, but this amps it up a bit. The spices are not quite as sweet and bright. The floral element is very much there, but it's darkened, and there's a lot more leather in this one, and also it has a little touch of an oud accord, let's call it. So it's a bit woodier in that, and it kind of makes the whole fragrance is blacker, it's darker, it's richer, it's got a more mysterious edge. There's a little bit of smokiness in there as well, and it all comes together to be this kind of elegant, classy, but very dark fragrance. What would this make me think of? This again, maybe like, you know, the Jack the Ripper kind of thing. Maybe not quite as malevolent as that. This is more a kind of going back to them Victorian times. More a kind of someone, a mysterious figure from the government, you know. You've been saying that Jack the Ripper, you know, was potentially a member of the royal family. So these are the guys they'd send round. Again, a similar kind of get-up, but these would not be as charming. These would just be characterless as faces. Maybe a bit like, if you ever watch Buffy, there's the, oh my god, what are they called? It'll come to me and I'll flash it up. The one where everybody loses their voices, and they kind of mysteriously drift through the night, making people disappear. and again stealing their voices, and they carry them off to do terrible things to them. It's that kind of Victoriana, kind of malevolent character that I'm thinking of with this one, but with this kind of class and elegance, so you know they come from authority and what have you. So that's Mad in Black Orient from Bvlgari. Next we have Oud Noir Intense from Fragrance du Bois. Now this is a oh, I love this fragrance. It's a DNA that is very familiar. It's not exactly the same as well, it smells like oud wood from Tom Ford, but again that's probably it's the cardamom and the woodiness with that kind of clean oudi note in there. This one is slightly different. This one goes a bit darker in the base. Then predominantly it's yeah, like I say, cardamom and woods. It does have that rosewoody feel about it, not a listed note, whatever, it doesn't matter, does it? That kind of woody oud feel there, and it all kind of merges together to give this almost, because of the way the cardamom works, there's almost a kind of booziness about it. I think the saffron in this, again, not very forward, but that is the thing that adds the sweetness with maybe a touch of the floral notes in there. And it's just a very, it's uber woody with the bright fizz of the cardamom and the richness of the woods and the oud accord. Or of course, all Fragrance du Bois contain oud in whatever measurements or whatever. So it's got all that going together, and it is it's just beautiful. It's very classy and very elegant, but it does have, like I say, a kind of darkness about it from the rich woodiness, I would say. What does this one make me think of? Probably someone, you know, we could refer it to something like a crazy lumberjack, you know, who works in the forests of Transylvania, which are very beautiful, by the way. But obviously, you know, we have that association with it now, that modern thing. So, you know, a kind of dark, spooky, haunted woods. No, he can be the axe, the woodcutter from Little Red Riding Hood, can't he? But a dark one. You know, he stumbles across this girl while he's got this bag over his shoulder with body parts. He's been, you know, he's been cutting these mystical old Goths trees and doing a bit of you know, he's a bit of a poacher, but he's not there for the animals, you know what I mean, kind of thing. So he's just wandering around, smelling very elegant and classy, and he comes across Red Riding Hood, and you know, he goes to rescue her in the end. But what does he do with her afterwards, eh? We never find out that part of the story. Maybe he's off to take these body parts to feed his goblin wife or something. But yeah, that's where this one takes me. It's such a classy, beautiful scent with the right amount of darkness, the right amount of interesting feel about it. Magical fragrance. So that is Oud Noir Intense from Fragrance du Bois. Next is one of my favourite discoveries of the last few years, and that's from Map of the Heart, and it's Purple Heart. Now, as a Lolita Lempicka lover, this one is kind of the adult version, the one that's, you know, kind of takes you away. It's got a bit of ink in there, which adds that more of a blackness. There's probably licorice in there as well too. There's obviously violet, purple, and there's a kind of smokiness and a touch of leatheriness going through it. So it has a similar DNA to it, but as you can tell, it's kind of pushed, it's made darker, more of a fuller fragrance, more kind of mysterious and interesting. So that is Purple Heart. Now, where does this one take me? This probably would be a young Dracul, a young Vlad. We're talking about the literary version here, not the actual version. So I imagine, you know, he's quite charming when he's young, and he wants to learn all this knowledge about the world and expand his mind before he retreats into his big castle, learn the secrets of necromancy and immortality and magic, how to shapeshift into different dark creatures and all of that. So he's useful, but what he can't escape is his craving, his need for that metallic iron supplement that he needs to stay young and stay forever alive. And he's also, you know, he's a bit gothy, obviously, so he's big into dark purple, and he has a lot of purple furniture and clothes about. And yeah, and obviously there's this veil of smoky mysteriousness about him. You know, you could have say the ink is a little bit, well, it is a little bit metallic, isn't it? And it has that, we all know the story, it has that about it, doesn't it? So that is from Map of the Heart, and that's Purple Heart. Next is Ombre leather from Tom Ford. Now we all know this one. This is basically this lovely plush black clean shiny leather, and what that's mixed with is a lot of florals, jasmine mainly, which gives it this kind of clean kind of touch, this interesting almost narcotic feel, I'd say, as jasmine can sometimes have that kind of edge. And what goes with that is a kind of very black smell. It's not really smoky, but the leather verges on that kind of very alluring darkness. And there's a nice muskiness in there. It's a really quite lovely fragrance. And this, maybe we could relate this to Van Helsing himself, a young Van Helsing, a trendy kind of guy who goes around hunting old men to kill because he thinks they're drinking blood and whatnot. Bit of a strange fella. Everyone needs a hobby, don't they? And he basically is a bit jealous of that eternal lord who likes to seduce lots of women and is living forever. So he's not the biggest fan of Mr. Dracula. So he has a nice cool motorbike. He chases the bats through the night, etc., and all that kind of jazz. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we all know what ombre leather is like. It's a magnificent fragrance, really, isn't it? So from Tom Ford is ombre leather. Next is Guerlain's La Petite Robe Noir Black Perfecto. Oh, we know I love this fragrance. This is, it's got that Le Petite Robe Noir kind of DNA. It's got a kind of, the lovely floral sweetness. It's also got a touch of cherry in there, kind of a darker cherry. And what makes this fragrance is the leather and the kind of black seductiveness of it, with a much kind of more oomphy musk about it. Something about the musk that just makes you purr. Makes me want to, throw my pants at someone. It's something about this one that is just so and it's got a little bit of that Guerlain in it. It's it's got vanilla, it's got a little bit of a kind of tonkery, almondy touch in there again, cherry, almond. Anyway, it's this one makes me think of, I don't know why it always makes me think of this, but like a librarian, like by day she has a purple bow in her hair because they always wear purple, with a little skull on it, a little choker with lots of little bats all around her neck and stuff. And she's very polite and very studious, as you'd imagine a librarian to be. And you know, you've been going to this library a long time. She says, would you like to come out for a drink? And you're like, you know what, I would really like to come out for a drink with you. And you meet in this kind of bar that looks, you know, to the normal eye, it's like very old-fashioned. There's chains hanging on the wall, chain mails, maces with spikes and stuff. You're like, hey, this is quite cool, and they're playing heavy metal and that. And she's like, oh, would you like to go to the beer garden? We can watch the moon out there. And you're like, yeah, okay. And you get into the beer garden, and in the middle is this stone altar, bit splashed with, well, you presume it's just cherries, you know, they're big cherry fans. Could be blood. She kind of suggests you have a sit down on it, and you have a few more drinks of the mysterious sweet wine that they have there. And you feel a bit, you know, oh, I might just put my head down. And then when you come round, you're chained to this altar, naked. She's kind of wearing a raven feathered skirt and some things to hide her modesty, doing some kind of weird chanting as she pours red stuff all over you. Again, you presume it's just cherry liqueur. Ooh, it's a little bit metallic though, this one. And yeah, and then she tells you, you know, you've been chosen as a virgin to be sacrificed. You're like, wait, love. Okay, so you're sacrificed to the god of nighttime, Nyx, or someone, if you like. And you meet a kind of happy ending, as such. So yeah, that's La Petite Robe Noir Black Perfecto from Guerlain. Finally, it's from Maison Francis Kirkjohn. It was, you know, it's not the one you all thought would be in here. It's not. I've not put another Tom Ford in. It's this one, and this one is it's magnificent. Now, a lot of people say it's kind of like a musky dark rose one. To me, no. Don't get me wrong, the powderiness comes from the rose to me, but actually there's like this like violet going through it. Now again, I weirdly know the XIII more, so it tends to be what I describe, and there's like a thick, beautiful, dark vein of oud going through it, and it's quite dark. It's even sometimes, I'd say, maybe a little licoricey. This one isn't as powdery. The violet is richer and more syrupy going through it. Obviously the rose, etc. Maybe there's a bit of saffron, which again helps this kind of darkness. And it's just a magnificently dark, seductive fragrance. And this one, what would this one be? This one, you know, we're going to say it's a handsome couple. They're all dressed in black. They're like, hi there, you know, we made too much tea. Would you like to come to our little castle and join us? And the castle is this beautiful, tall, black stone castle with ivy and violet flowers growing up it. And it's all very peaceful and beautiful. There's endless gravestones. Even people you notice who died quite recently. Anyway, you go in there and they have this banquet on the table with purple violet flavoured grapes. Yes, I know they don't taste like that. Some beautiful rose wine, thick and dark and black. And they say, well, you know, they fess up, you know, we're living forever. Our marriage is getting a bit dull now. We've tried to introduce new people to the marriage. Didn't always work out. How about yourself? I mean, they're both very youthful and beautiful and you know, very mysterious, olive skinned, and you're like, well, we only live once, we can try some sort of things. And you're just so overcome by that dark violetiness of everything, and the smells and the smell of passion and lust and all of that you let them both bite your neck. And you know, many a very exhausting night and day, because of course you never run out of energy, etc. And until they get bored of you. And then, to be quite fair, you're quite ready for the blissful kiss of death, because this non-stop love making all day and all night, as well as drinking copious amounts of blood, and it gets exhausting, and you know, you're not a student anymore. Sleeping through the day isn't really a jam, so you just welcome it. And that last smell you have is this dark violet syrupy kiss from them both. The end. That's Maison Francis Kirkjean's Oud Satin. So yeah, this video, which, you know, I do many videos like this, and it's hard to keep them all being completely original or not using the same fragrances all the time. I do have a large dark collection, but these, you know, I've chucked a few in there that aren't normally in there. But these are my favourite style of fragrances, aren't they? The dark, little bit sweet or smoky and foreboding and what have you. But again, they're all very wearable, and I suppose it depends on our personalities. I mean, I know I am such a bright, optimistic ray of sunshine that it's hard to imagine me in these kind of dark, sultry, smouldering, you know, maybe sometimes quite fearsome fragrances, but I do enjoy them. Anyway, what about yourself? What's your favourite dark fragrance? What did you wear for Bonfire Day, whenever this video goes out? What's your kind of favourite dark DNA? Are you a dark fruity, a dark woody kind of person? Alright folks, thanks, that's it, and bye.